सर नमस्कार।
हजुर नमस्ते म्याम।
क्लास सुरु गर्दा हुन्छ है?
ए हस्। So let's begin our class. Why I'm being muted? Is there any technical error? Good evening, Subhas Devkota. So we have completed the first unit and we are proceeding for the next, second unit. We'll begin from teaching reading skill or written language from today onwards. So let me start the class. Well, let's begin the written language. Under written language, we'll proceed from the reading skill first and we'll move to the next. So am I sharing the screen? Please, everyone, let me know. Can you? Well, Kiran Gautam, good evening. Namaste. Krishna Thapa, good evening. Saroj Limbu, Binod Hital, Dipendra Sai, Rama Vista, Manu Sapkota, Jung Bhola, Bhola Jung maybe. Subhas Devkota, Prakriti Magar. Good evening all. Well, let's start with teaching reading skill, means the second unit for the secondary level. It is related to teaching and testing written language. So last time we discussed about spoken language, right? Or oral skills, let's say. Written skills and oral skills, or written language and oral skills related to first unit. So in this unit, we'll discuss all about written skill, written language. So these are reading and writing basically. Besides these two, we need to study, related to testing. So literary text, one another subtopic is there. Otherwise, we have to study teaching reading, teaching speaking, testing reading, testing speaking. Well, so let's go without any question you have at the beginning. Teaching reading skill. Right. So here, when we are discussing about this written language, so to get the proficiency in written language, first we have to reading as a receptive skill and speaking as a productive skill. So there is also very good combination, like listening as a input and speaking as a output and the product. In the same way here in written language also, so reading is a input in the process of language acquisition. So it gives the input. So, and whereas speaking is output, the product. So speaking is considered the productive skill. So teaching reading. So in the context of Nepal, while we are discussing, so generally the learners do not feel that much difficult writing answer for reading and writing, because many teachers are teaching reading and writing, only the technical parts, but they ignore listening and speaking. So we need to talk much about listening and speaking rather than reading and writing. So reading begins from the production of, or recognizing the first morpheme, right? First morpheme. So reading begins from there. So for example, when someone starts learning a language, means so the child has to begin with the recognition of the morpheme, or let's say alphabet or a script in a particular language. So reading begins from there. So when these morphemes are connected together, or it forms a word, and when words are connected, it forms phrases, or in a logical order. If the words and phrases are connected. So that forms a clause. Ultimately, it forms a syntax. So, while going through the reading text, morpheme, semantic, and syntax. So these things is a linguistics, language learners or the students of linguistics, you need to understand the components while going through them. So let's begin without any further discussion. Why today this my video is larger? Am I visible to you? Am I visible for you? So let's crop it and make it so small one. It's distracting to me. I'm asking like not speaking, sir, writing. Sorry? I'm not talking about speaking. I was giving an example of previous unit. Please don't interpret the wrong way. So, reading skill. What is reading skill? Why reading skill is necessary? What are the purposes? So, first, let's discuss the theoretical part and we'll come to the question answer session. So, reading skill. Reading is the receptive skill of language. Reading means comprehending the text written in a particular language. So if we ask someone else to read, means this person should be able to acknowledge or comprehend the text. Before comprehending any text, he or she has to recognize the script or the text written in a specific language. Our language is English. So according to Greeley, so reading means extracting information from written text as efficiently as possible. So here, reading means abstracting information. When we provide small reading text to our learners, so whether they are comprehending the text or more than that, are they abstracting the information, means receiving information, getting new information through this text or not. So these process includes in reading skill. So it is reading skill is also known as understanding or making sense of a given text. So if the text is given there, so the learners they have to go through the text and they have to find out the meaning. They need to comprehend the text. More than this, so comprehension skills of language learning in terms of reading can be developed. So here readers have to be actively involved to grasp the meaning of the underlying text. So comprehending the text or to comprehend the text of an underlying structure or particular structure of language, one has to actively involve to be able to interpret that. So reading has mainly two purposes. So why reading is done? Reading is often done for the pleasure. Getting pleasure from the text. Some people read for pleasure. Yes. And next, it's for getting information from various texts. So pleasure is also like there is a strong connection with gathering information related to the text, but for getting information, it is specific. So according to Carroll, we can see reading is composed of three basic components. This is very important, please, while writing about reading, forget other. But Carroll's and Grivet's line you need to remember, because you can write expanding your own, in your own language. You can paraphrase these, write the same, but you can define or explain, putting your own reflection with them. So cognition, language, and reading skills. So cognition is related to reading, means the reader is interacting with the text. When I'm reading any text, I'm interacting. So interaction can be made by actively activating my metacognition, or let's say yes, brain, a cognitive device. So when I activate my brain, or as a learners, let's say if anyone learns or goes through the reading text, the person starts identifying, recognizing the script, and for that, and how it is combined, how the words are formed, how these words are formed into a concrete, meaningful sentence, or the syntactic structure. So for that, the learners, the language learners, while reading, they have to acknowledge, or they have to understand the language, in what context or situation, which kind of structure is used there. And after making, first recognition, activating the brain, they can interact with the text. After interacting, interaction is the higher, ability of abstracting information. So at this time, recognizing the language pattern, and finally reading skills involves the interaction process. So there cannot be the two-way conversation. Interaction means like I am, as a language learner, I just read, means I understand them. So this process we have to take support from Carol. And what is the objective or the purpose of teaching reading skill? Why reading is often done? Reading is often conducted for number one, to develop the reading skills. In gist, if we talk, but reading skill has different sub skills. So to develop the ability of the learners, having information about a particular text, identifying the text, identifying the particular structure, and how these sentences are formed in a very logical order, and how the ideas are organized in a sequential order or not, and how the word formation process are made there in the language. So if any readers or language learners while reading, if the learners, or let's say readers, do not have this kind of skill, means obviously reading a skill cannot be comprehended, or they cannot be made any comprehension in reading text. So the main purpose is to become much familiar about the text, its pattern, language use, how the language is organized, and much more. So let's start to get the detailed information about the text. When we provide any reading text, means to get detailed information. So this is one. So to read the text for the sake of getting specific information from the text, and to broaden the horizon of knowledge. So to enable the learners to read the text for the sake of pleasure. So to develop ultimately the autonomous learners. So providing reading text means every time. So teachers are not necessary to help them. So it is often expected. So teaching reading means developing independent learners or autonomous learners. And another purpose of teaching reading is to develop the independent readers. Autonomous learners and independent readers are different, though the words are synonymous. Autonomous learners means for overall learning process, and independent readers means only specific for reading purpose only. And to cultivate the habit of reading culture and select the specific book, or identify and purpose and attitude of the authors while they are reading. So our learners can identify the attitude of the author. This is a bit a high level. So please add few more lines. Let's go here. whether these are, sorry, I stopped it. So I added few 2 lines more. So it's all about this recognizing the pattern of language, how the sentence structures are formed, or whether the clarity, uniformity, or cohesion and coherence of language are maintained there or not. So these are also the process, I mean, objectives of teaching reading skill. You can just simply take this. So let's go to the next. I mean, what makes reading difficult? So this is a very important question. I mean, the first one, the previous one was also very important. I mean, this can be asked sometime for objective or sometime is a purpose. So this is also very important question. So generally, what is reading skill can't, I mean, it won't be asked for you. So what makes reading text difficult, or why reading can be difficult for the learners, or yeah, what are the factors that creates reading text difficult? So language can be a little bit twisted in your exam, but the meaning is the same. You need to understand the question, what makes reading text difficult, or what are the different factors that uh, creates the reading difficulty for, I mean, learners, or influential factors, what influences it for making the reading text difficult, reading skill or text. So let's start. So there are general points, so I do not take much time. So why reading becomes difficult for the students as well as for the teachers. So sometimes it can be asked as a student, sometimes as a teacher, or sometimes it does not say anything in your question. So sometimes specifically this can be asked as a for students, sometimes for teacher, and sometimes in teaching. So in teaching it is written. So the problem of teachers and students both you can include. Right. Number one, if the reading text has some own familiar words and vocabularies, reading obviously can be difficult for our learners. They cannot understand, or every time teacher has to engrossed with providing the meaning and its utterances in a very specific way. I mean, how the appropriateness of language are used there or not. So next, similarly, if the learners have a very limited vocabularies, if they have very less number of vocabularies, limited here means like not adequate or not enough for the particular label is called limited vocabularies. Or I mean, so in our context, Nepal, so this sort of glossary items are not I mean, curriculum has not instructed this kind of thing. But if we just go through, I have found like in other countries, so the curriculum already specifies, I mean, uh, before, so anyone enrolls into the course or goes through the any particular level. So some of the glossary items they have to study, or level-wise vocabulary are provided for the learners, and they are expected to develop that much vocabulary. But here in Nepal, it is flexible. So there is no, I mean, at the end of the every I mean book, or let's say the textbook, so there can be found the new words, list of new words, but that does not specify that the learners of this particular class or label, they have to learn this much. No, it doesn't say like this. So limited vocabulary means this. Next, I mean, if the text has very heavy, long, complex sentences of the text, so there are different type of sentences. So if the complex and the long sentences, or the much more ambiguity is created in the text, means like the clarity cannot be found directly. I mean, the written language is somehow not as I was talking already about the cohesion and coherence, which are not maintained, or sometimes though it is maintained, the concept is not that much clear, or the writer, author, some authors, they have habit of not providing the concrete meaning in written. If this happens, so learners often feel difficulties. Similarly, if the language is very unfamiliar to the learners, unfamiliar language of language in the, I mean, English, while reading English, if they find unfamiliar language here, unfamiliar language means the language which they have not seen it. They are studying in a grade 9 or 10, but till the date, this structure, this particular linguistic exponents, they have not gone through. If this happens, this is quite difficult. So at least the teacher has to help them to out. For example, sometimes there can be a new structures, or let's say if the teacher is not teaching the advanced English, always focusing the basic English, or students are not provided the, I mean, formal language, so learners often get difficulties. So I mean, there are other different ways, like I can give another example. If students are never provided the opportunity or exposure of reading text, especially using different idiom phrases, which are the most powerful, I mean, tools developing language. If these are not provided and general kind of languages are only provided to the learners, obviously they have very poor background, or using such idiom phrases, or phrasal expressions, phrasal verbs sometimes. So these are, I mean, highly required in the advanced English rather than in basic English. And if these are used, I mean, I'm just giving an example only, it's not really, I mean, I don't have to explain all. So another cultural varies in the text, so I think everyone understands. So I mean, we are Nepali learners, and if the text is borrowed from Beijing of China, or if this text is describing of any geography or context is different than the usual students, a socio-cultural aspect beyond this, if it is, so obviously this text can be difficult for the learners. So cultural differences in the text also can be, I mean, that can create a difficulty. That's why these days we often advocate about local culture, and local flavor, local author, local material. local, text about describing about the same locality or something, and we have to stop bringing the text from the other countries, writing by other authors. So this cannot provide the concrete ideas to the learner. So the theory of ecology in language learning explicitly mentions what this is. I think you everyone understand better. So Tul Bahadur, please. Similarly, lack of visual description of the picture of the text. Yeah, if reading text lacks, especially in school level, we provide a sufficient picture. If we go to the junior grades, we can find pictorial text because our students' mind is already set up with, they do not read the text first. They first read the picture. They try to guess the picture. Their mind is already set. So they're, especially their graphic organizers, especially they activate their brain when they are going through the text initially. So slowly these pictures are removing if gradually the text are going in upper classes. So if we just see why the text are given there in the low grades, in junior, primary, elementary level, and why there are no in master's level. So there is a great connectivity with our human brain and metacognition process, as well as visual representation of graphic organizers, how a human activates these factors and learn language. It is relatively related to the language learning and acquisition process. You may have gone through it. That's why if these pictures are, why I think you understand. So there are at least one picture is required in every text. So our students up to adolescence period, so they are not able to interpret, analyze, synthesize, or make meaning in their own way. So if another one is like complex concept used in the text, means like if the text is quite complex, means maybe due to the literary, or due to some not using some difficult collocation, or sometimes it can be taken as example of taking very vague concept on it, or due to linguistics, or due to literary items used there. For example, literary genres in terms of using different figurative language used there in the text can vary, and then these creates often difficulties for the learners to understand. So lack of students' previous knowledge about the text. So generally, as a teacher, when we go into the classroom, so our main purpose, our main objective is to provide the previous, we have to understand the learners existing knowledge. Existing knowledge means connecting to their prior knowledge. So how far they have understood something, or do they have anything about them before? For example, we bring a text about artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? If the learners are not that much very familiar with this artificial intelligence, obviously learners may not understand it. Or when we bring some new phenomenon like related to some new, first time they are getting about it. So when we bring a text related to federalism, or the learners are not that much familiar with the federalism. So what federalism is, do they know? If they don't know, the reading text can be difficult for them. So a teacher has to provide sufficient background information about this, and only such kind of text should be provided. Here in our culture in Nepal, reading means only the textbook, whatever the reading texts are there. So there is a tendency of reading, but it's not. We need to bring different type of test. Remember how interesting pattern is there. Interesting, it's a, let's not say it is interesting, it's a very ridiculous, by the way, sometimes controversial, but more than controversial, it is ridiculous. So teachers are teaching in grade 9, 10, 11, 12, or let's say up to grade 8 also, generally. Teacher never brings any reading text, neither any literature nor any genres or any different type of text, never. Students are never, I mean, they are never get such kind of I mean exposure in the classroom, but teachers are asking on scene text, and isn't it ridiculous? So I mean students are familiar with the scene text, but the teachers are asking on scene text. So on scene text doesn't mean that so such type of text should not be given to them in their during the course study time. No, so different types of tests should be brought by the teachers from different. Sometimes teacher can bring cooking recipes, sometimes teacher can bring how to relate it or instructional manual, brochures, or different reading texts should be that. This textbook is designed for the students, so student can read themselves. Sometimes we have to help them the structure and the word. This is fine because it is up to with them. So teachers, most of the teachers have to work out and put much more effort bringing various kind of different reading text. Sometimes, yeah. So, yeah, we have to bring some time. I cannot give an example because thousands of reading texts are there is on scene, and making them deprived of getting such kind of text in their life, they are asking. But there is a tendency, one very bad tendency. So in a only one type of text should be there. I mean, look, for example, in question number 3 means always a kind of a vacancy unknown, structural type of curriculum is there. So I mean, they design the question set, I mean, for reading with the preoccupied mindset. So with this kind of culture and tendency, we cannot develop the, I mean, creativity and critical thinking skill in our students. So yeah, but before bringing such kind of text, whether our learners have these, I mean, are they familiar? Do they know the notion of this particular type of text? I mean, type of text is structure, it's outline format is another pattern. More than that, first, whether the students have understood the phenomenon, are they familiar with this notion? So it is a prime concern of teachers to make them, I mean, familiar. So connecting to their prior knowledge. So then only they can develop their, let's say, linguistic ability. So let's go. Yeah, these are all. Disinterest and boredom. What's that? Disinterest and boredom means with my class or with my, hello, what's that? Disinterest and boredom? What's this? Can you clarify for what reason it is disinterest and boredom? Question book is changed, so do we need to go through the previous new one? So no, nothing changed, Rama Vista. Hello. So disinterest and boredom भन्नुभएको छ कहाँनेरि disinterest भयो so did I make disinterest for you I so makes reading difficult I mean त्यो त अब हामीले कसरी पढाउँछौं धेरैजना टिचरहरुमा पेडागोजीको समस्या छ तपाईहरुले चाहिँ अब कसरी सिक्नु भयो भनेर हो ए ओके नट विथ मी फर क्लासरुम ओके आई थर्ड लाइक तपाई डिसइन्ट्रेस्ट हुनुभयो भनेर क्ल्यारिफाई गरिरहेको नो मोर डिफरेन्ट है अहिले आको 10 मा खासै त्यस्तो फरक छैन अलिकति त्यो लिसनिङ स्पिकिङको टेस्टिङ अलिकति डिफरेन्ट भएको छ टेक्स्टहरु फरक छ मोडालिटी एउटै हो है केही पनि फरक छैन करिकुलम चेन्ज गर्ने बेलामा एउटै ल्याउनु त्यति राम्रो मानिदैन सो इट्स द सेम है yeah so let's not go beyond this so could you back screen one please किन अनि फेरि मनु सापकोटा yes I understood एडिटेड स्लाइडमा मैले त्यस्तो केही पनि राखेको छैन तपाईले एडिटेड स्लाइड भनेर अगाडि भन्नुभयो होला एक दुईवटा पोइन्टहरु छुटेर रहेछ जस्तै purpose of teaching test ma to develop the ability of recognizing scripts language structure of language structure of English लेख्नु पर्ने मैले of specific language भनेर भाषाको टिचर भएको भएर but we need to write English है त्यस्तै अरु पनि थप्नु होला अलिकति अब्जेक्टिभ लेख्दै जाँदा यहाँ अलिकति पोइन्ट थप्नु पर्ने पार्टहरु पनि छ धेरै लङ हुन्छ भनेर हो अब अलिकति to familiarize students with the components of language for example cohesion and coherence organization of ideas भनेर पनि राखिदिनु होला तपाईहरुले लेख्दा त्यो कुरा छुटेछ म आन्सरमा लेख्नुला अहिले यहाँ छुटेछ अब लेख्न थाल्यो भने इट्स अ स्लाइड सो यहाँ टाइप गर्न मिल्दैन इफ इट इज वर्ड आई क्यान टाइप बट टु स्टप स्लाइड एन्ड आई मिन शेयरिङ एन्ड आई हैव टु गो एन्ड एडिट सो लेट इट बी है त्यति दुईटा थप्नु होला अरु फेरि सबै ठीक छ है साथीहरु सबै गलत हैन एउटा चाहिँ कोहेजन कोहेरेन्स क्ल्यारिटी अर्गनाइज सँग विद्यार्थीलाई फ्यामिलियर बनाउनु पनि रिडिङको पर्पस हो अर्को पहिलो अब्जेक्टिभ भनेको त भाषाको मोर्फिम त्यसभित्रको सिमेन्टिक्स सिन्ट्याक्सको स्ट्रक्चर र प्याटर्नलाई नै आई मिन फ्यामिलियर गराउनु हो नि त जुन कुरो छुटिरहेछ त्यहाँ सो प्लिज एड दिस है साथीहरु आर यु विथ मी हेलो सो अब्जेक्टिभमा चाहिँ त्यो कुरा चाहिँ अलि इम्पोर्टेन्ट अरु त एज इट इज ठीक छ है त्यो जनरल कुराहरु चाहिँ आई मिन ओमिट गर्नु भएर त्यो कुरा थप्नु भयो भने चाहिँ वास्तविक इंग्लिशको लिंग्विस्टिक्सको विद्यार्थीले नै लेखेको हो भन्ने हुन्छ नत्र भने चाहिँ अलिकति लिटरेचरबाट आएको विद्यार्थीहरुले लेखेको हो कि सोशलको विद्यार्थीले लेखेको हो भन्ने हुन्छ लिटरेचरमा पनि लिंग्विस्टिक्स मेजर लिएर पढ्नु भएकोहरुलाई खासै गाह्रो हुँदैन यो ल्याङ्ग्वेज अदरवाइज या टाइप्स अफ रिडिङ सो अब रिडिङका टाइप्समा जाउँ है अर्को इम्पोर्टेन्ट प्रश्न तपाईहरुलाई सानो प्रश्न 2-3 मार्क्सको क्वेशन सोधिन सक्छ टाइप्स अफ रिडिङ types of reading can you tell what are the different types of reading म आज अलि विस्तारै बोलिरहेछु है साथीहरु मलाई am I audible audible छ क्लियर छ फुल बुझ्नु हुन्छ भन्ने हो so टाइप्स अब यो सामान्यतया टिचिङ राइटिङ सरी रिडिङ का यिनीहरुलाई टाइप्स अथवा टेक्निक्स अफ रिडिङ पनि भनेर बुझिन्छ टेक्निक्स टाइप्स एन्ड टेक्निक्स विद्यार्थीले पढाउँदाखेरि प्रयोग गर्ने एक्टिभिटीज टेक्निक्सहरु छुट्टै छन् हियर जनरली we use types of reading so in terms of the nature of reading we can classify So silent reading, if we ask our students to read silently, this is silent reading. And if we ask someone else read the text, so producing sound means that is loud reading. Yeah? And similarly, intensive, extensive reading between the line, अनि skimming, scanning, यिनीहरू हेर्नु होला. अब अलिकति तपाईहरुलाई what is skimming, what is scanning भनेर भित्रबाट एउटा क्वेशन थोरै before starting आइदिन सक्छ. What are the type of reading text? Explain them with example भनेर आज भन्दा तपाईहरुलाई 2012, 15 up to 15 सम्म त्यस्तो खालको सिलेबस थियो होला. Don't expect है त्यस्तो अब आउँदा पनि आउँदैन. सो त्यसरी क्वेशन बन्दैन. It's a pedagogy. Let's start. So many of you are asking. Are you asking question here? Okay. यो स्लो एन्ड फास्ट रिडिङ त खास हुँदैन है. अब आफै बनाएपछि हुने हो. खासै कुनै अथरहरूले त्यस्तो सिग्निफाई गर्नु भएको छैन स्लो एन्ड. अब यस्तो क्विक रिडिङ चाहिँ छ है. क्विक रिडिङ, ऱ्यापिड रिडिङ, स्लो रिडिङ चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म छैन. अब भन्नलाई चलन चल्तीमा भनिन्छ तर विभिन्न स्कलर्सहरूले त्यसलाई भ्यालिडिटी दिनुभयो कि भएन. अब हामी थुप्रै कुरा यो कस्तो हुन्छ भने पढ्ने, लेख्ने र कानुन, ऐन, नियम भन्दा खासै केही पनि फरक पर्दैन है. कसले कता बनाउँछ यतिकै लेख्नु जस्तो हामीले थुप्रै कुराहरू गर्छौं. तर संविधान, म्यानिफेस्टो, कानुन अथवा ऐन नियमहरू भन्दा बाहिरका कुरालाई हामी त्यति हेरेर त हेर्छु त्यति भ्यालिड दिन्नौं. त्यसैले यो ल्याङ्ग्वेजको यो एकाडेमिक रिडिङ, राइटिङ, रिसर्चिङमा पनि त्यही हो. सो हामी आफैले बनाउँदैनौं कि यस्ता पोइन्टहरु चाहिँ कहाँ आएका छन्, इस्टाब्लिश भएका हुन् भने वी गिभ इस्टाब्लिश हो कि होइन है. Which type of question can we write the skill mentioned in the curriculum of 9 and 10? Sorry, के भने question नै बुझेन. In which type of question can we write the skill mentioned in the curriculum? पहिलाकै त्यो विद्यार्थीलाई प्रश्न सोध्ने भन्नुभएको कि तपाईलाई आउने प्रश्न भन्नुभएको. करिकुलम चेन्ज भएर please make it clear. I didn't understand Harijin your question. So let's go without further discussing here. Right? Type of reading. तपाईहरुले पढ्नु पर्ने जम्मा यति मात्रै पढ्नु न अरु पढ्नु पर्दैन. मैले यहाँ छोटो छोटो लेखेको छु. तपाईहरुलाई आउने मार्क्स पनि 2-3 मार्क्स को हुन्छ. You can. So one is loud reading. Loud reading, as you know that the main purpose of loud reading is developing the pronunciation, actual reading skill in the students. Where to stop, where to take a breath, and where to stop, or where to give intonation, stress, and how many syllabic word, and where the stress and intonation makes sense or it falls, right? सामान्य अर्थमा भन्ने हो भने राम्रोसँग पढ्न सिकाउनलाई हैन. So this loud reading is often done. त्यसैले loud reading is highly effective for the junior grades rather than in higher grades. तर टाइप पढ्दाखेरि तपाईहरुलाई आउने पनि loud reading को खासै सोध्दैन. पढ्दाखेरि पनि अलिकति के बुझ्नुपर्छ भने where we use फेरि loud reading प्रयोगै गर्न नपाइने भन्ने होइन, but we have to reuse this. Very less we use it secondary level. And another is a silent reading. So silent reading, the main purpose of silent reading is to develop comprehension skill. More than comprehension skill, it is related to develop activating cognitive ability or critical thinking skill in students. So they have to interpret, analyze, synthesize the text. So those in a higher grades, it is very important. So it is very useful. And rapid reading. Rapid reading is another. Rapid reading means within a limited time is given there. Within this time, how much someone can read. and review the text or evaluate the text. So it is improving the speed of reading. So those who have good habit of having rapid reading, often they are found a very good reader, and yeah, there is a high chance of getting news reading jobs in in journalism or in mass communication sector. Or it doesn't mean that teacher has to do this side. So everywhere it also, in education sector also it can apply. So extensive reading. So extensive reading. So mostly तपाईँलाई यहाँ धेरै important चाहिँ extensive, intensive, scanning र skimming चाहिँ बढी हेर्नु होला. लाउड, साइलेन्ट, ऱ्यापिड भन्दा बढी. तपाईँ हरेक कुरामा के हुन्छ भने यो चाहिँ यो लेभललाई बढी इम्पोर्टेन्ट, यो चाहिँ लेस इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो भन्ने हुन्छ. अब सरले त लेस भन्नुभयो भन्दा पढ्दै नपढ्ने टाइप त फेरि सबै थाहा हुनु पर्यो. सो यु हेभ टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड अल. तर त्यो भित्र पनि आफ्नो लेभल सुहाउँदो चाहिँ कुन हो त, इन विच यु आर प्रिपेयरिङ फर सेकेन्डरी लेभल. एन्ड इन सेकेन्डरी लेभल extensive, silent पनि बढी युज हुन्छ, but silent is highly used for self-study kind of thing in very advanced level, remember. So extensive reading, intensive reading, scanning and skimming are highly important. So let's go with the extensive. Extensive means for reading for abstracting the general information. Right, general information from the text. So that's why the purpose of providing extensive reading is to develop fluency activity. Larger volume of the text are provided to the learners, and learners often go through it, and like we can provide some fictions, novels, or some stories of their own choice, or prose, even the poetry, and let them to engage on it. And they need to simply analyze the text. They can share in their own word, in their own language. कसैलाई एउटा टेक्स्ट दिएर विद्यार्थीले त्यो टेक्स्ट पढेर अनि त्यसको बारेमा आफ्नै शब्दमा आफ्नै भाषामा भन्न सक्ने बनाउनु लागि चाहिँ हामी एक्सटेन्सिभ रिडिङ भन्छौँ. Like students can generalize the text. They get the very general understanding. जस्तै एउटा टेक्स्ट दिने र write a summary भन्नु चाहिँ extensive reading को example हो है. तर when we give a text for reading, there is a short text अनि विद्यार्थीलाई चाहिँ what is the meaning of find out the word which gives the opposite meaning from the above text भन्नु चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ intensive reading हो. बुझ्नु होला. किन हो भने पर्टिकुलर वर्ड कहाँ छ भनेर खोज्नु पर्यो भने त्यो चाहिँ स्पेसिफिक खोजेको हो. त्यस्तो प्रकारको आन्सर अथवा सर्ट क्वेसन आन्सर, ट्रु फल टाइप अफ क्वेसन्स, यस्तो प्रकारको स्पेसिफिक कुराको आन्सर खोज्नु पर्यो भने चाहिँ त्यो टेक्स्टमै हुन्छ. एक्सटेन्सिभ रिडिङको आन्सर चाहिँ टेक्स्टमा नहुन पनि सक्छ. सो एक्सटेन्सिभ रिडिङ इज रिलेटेड टु explicit type of question, and implicit, yes, explicit, whereas in implicit type of questions is related to extensive, and explicit is related to intensive reading. So let's go to the next, intensive. So intensive reading, as I already mentioned, it is a deep reading and it develops the accuracy. Accuracy develop गर्नु भनेको के हो? And the purpose of this includes intensive reading is to be much more familiar with the sentence structure, pattern. So they develop this habit. Particular idiom भनेको के हो? यो structure के हो? Or particular phrase के हो? Or something like that. So very त्यस्तै मात्रै सोध्ने भने होइन. So this intensive reading is often conducted for getting specific information. Specific. Okay. They go detail पढ्नु पर्छ, zeroing गर्नु पर्छ टेक्स्टमा. उसले तपाईहरुलाई listening ma extensive listening ra intensive listening bhane cha त्यसमा रहेछ केही पनि फरक छैन it's the same the process is different extensive listening from listening and reading through reading so only these are the differences I mean oral and written so skimming and scanning skimming in skimming reading generally the readers go quickly through the text to abstract the information, the gist understanding. I mean, sir, some of you may be asking, extensive skimming ma ke farak cha? There is a vast difference. Extensive ma यति नै पढ्नु पर्छ अथवा यो नै कुराहरू चाहिँ भन्नु पर्छ भन्ने हुँदैन. I mean, in extensive reading, we provide a text. They read, they come next day to the class, and they can share their understanding, which can come under extensive reading. अथवा त्यही क्लासमा पनि गर्न सकिन्छ. They're free. But in skimming, they cannot go out of the text, but they can share the gist of the text. It's related to the text, the shortened thing, very relevant. Okay? And scanning saying is related to both skimming and scanning. दुईटै quick reading नै हो, है? दुईटैमा quick reading apply हुन्छ. तर scanning मा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने आफूले बुझेको चुरो कुरो मात्र लेख्न पाइन्छ skimming मा विद्यार्थीले तर scanning मा चाहिँ त्यस्तो हुँदैन. So आफूलाई required when they are reading, so they just locate where my answer is. They can just move their eyes. So going through the top two button, they need to zeroing the text, but very specific information where they can find, they locate on the text, and then the required information is brought, which is called scanning. हामीले document जसरी scan गर्छौं, in the same way the readers scan it. That's why the term is scanning is used there. अब skimming मा ठ्याक्कै opposite के हुन्छ? So I mean in skimming they read, आफूलाई चाहिएको required information मात्रै लिन्छ त्यसमा. They go read, skim, नामै skim छ, so they read, but sometimes they skim, right? And then shortly they find the gist. त्यसको gist चाहिँ आफ्नै ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा लेख्नु पर्यो फेरि. Okay, this is skimming. Let's go to the next. What are the different reading text? अब यो भनेको चाहिँ what are the different reading text भनिएको छ. अनि what different अघि मैले भनेकै यही हो. टिचरले कहिले पनि कुनै टेक्स्ट बाहिरबाट ल्याएर एक दिन पनि नदेखाइकन विद्यार्थीलाई अनसिन टेक्स्ट सोध्नु चाहिँ एक प्रकारको के हो? अपराध हो. अपराध भन्दा नि हुन्छ. It's a kind of sin, great sin. And so teacher has to bring different type of text collecting, see, because we cannot improve the reading skill in our students. Neither we have library culture, reading skill, reading competition, reading contest haru राख्ने त्यस्तो खालको पनि culture छैन भने चाहिँ we cannot develop our students linguistics fluency, accuracy in terms of reading in written language. So यो भनेको चाहिँ तपाईलाई आउन सक्ने प्रश्न चाहिँ what different materials do you use for teaching reading अथवा what different reading text do you use for teaching reading भनिदिन सक्छ. So this is very short question, 2 to 3 marks question. What are the different reading text means? Unseen textहरु टिचरले बाहिरबाट ल्याउनु पर्छ टेक्स्टमा भएको भन्दा बाहिर. So this is what we call different reading text. These can be the resources, materials. So mainly we bring two type of reading tests for the students. There are two type मात्रै भनेर पुग्दैन. So prose and poetry. Prose and poetry. But we bring sometimes newspapers, sometimes different journal articles in the class. We need to bring cut out गरेर क्लासमा ल्याउनै पर्छ. नत्र भने विद्यार्थीको रिडिङ टेक्स्ट बुकमा भएको रिडिङ टेक्स्टले 10% मात्रै काम गर्छ. So because there are a lot of exercises which are to be provided एउटा text एउटा unit ma hola, that is not sufficient to develop reading skill to the students. So we need to bring some time article, menus, different letters. We need to bring advertisement, condolences, or I mean these are some sample one. यहाँ लेखेर सकिन्न हैन यसको different types or table, diagram, pie chart, how it is distributed, I mean interpreted there. We can bring novels, short stories, biography, पढ्न दिने त्यसलाई sketch गर्न दिने sketch of the characters, or so plot, climax, group छुट्याउने, and then only they develop their reading skills. So recipe, book reviews, pamphlets, brochure, notice, reports are some of the examples of different reading texts that we can use for teaching reading. So yeah, with this, let's go for the next. Is anyone asking question here? अहिले यहाँ जति हेर्नुभयो त्यति नै टाइप्स छन् है. My question is above, look one sir. कहाँ छ तपाईँ? त्यसो भन्नुको सट्टा तपाईले क्वेशन नै सार्नु भयो हुन्छ नि. अब कहाँ जाने तपाईको क्वेशन हेर्न? यहाँ if I can find, if I don't get, cannot. कहाँ छ खै? Cohesion and coherence in reading and writing. Yeah, and reading, writing मा सबभन्दा धेरै प्रयोग हुने, त reading मा पनि आइहाल्छ नि, written language मा cohesion and coherence. Yes, we need to maintain that in written language. Reading मा अब त्यही टेक्स्ट पढ्ने हो, cohesion coherence maintain छैन भने we cannot read better. So writing मा त्यसलाई maintain गरेर लेख्ने हो. So that's the same thing in writing. In reading or writing भन्ने हो कि के हो त question नै incomplete छ. Write a question completely, I mean in meaningful way. Let's go. What are the various different reading skills, or what different reading skills are required for reading? अब यो चाहिँ तपाईहरुलाई comprehension skill भनेको हो है. So you may be asked what different comprehension skills, sometimes you may be asked, remember. So what are the varieties or various reading skills? What other different skills are required for developing comprehension skill in our students? विद्यार्थीको comprehension skills चाहिँ कस्तो स्किलहरु उनीहरुले डेभलप गर्न सके भने डेभलप हुन्छ भन्ने प्रश्न पनि यहीँबाट आउँछ. त्यसैले कपी नोट लिएर बस्नु होला, I mean डट पेन नोट लिएर बस्नु होला भनेको कारण चाहिँ यही हो. So reading is regarded one of the complex cognitive process. Why it is complex cognitive process? Because it is it is in the sense that the learners, they have to first recognize the script and then its pattern, their connection, their linkage, their pattern, and how these someone was asking coherence and cohesion, so or organization of the ideas, how they are connected each other. यो सबै कुरा जानेपछि मात्र reading हुन्छ. त्यसैले it's a complex cognitive process. So activating the brain first, and reader has to interact with the text, and the teacher has to create the meaning आफूले मात्र interpret गरेर भएन, whether it is actual or not. So the readers, they have to acknowledge it, analyze it, interpret it in others' point of view or in author's point of view. More than that, and then it's more than that, it is the process of meaning making. अन्तिममा चाहिँ meaning making हुन्छ. So the act of the reading, so reading skills involves the following varieties of sub skills for comprehending any text. कुनै पनि text like comprehension, students are Abstracting the information we cannot understand, but whether the comprehension skill is being developed in the students or not, we can simply find out with those different skills. So what are they? So first of all, if our learners are able to recognize the script of language, यो कुन स्क्रिप्टमा लेखिएको छ अथवा कुन मोर्फिम हो, त्यो मोर्फिमहरु कम्बाइन गरेर के वर्ड बनेको छ, या पहिला त स्क्रिप्ट जान्नु पर्यो. Whether this script भने धेरै ठुलो कुरा हो. So script means is a first language pattern of like particular language. यो कुन भाषा हो, कुन लिपिमा लेखिएको छ. This is what we call, script. First, recognizing the script along with the morphemes or the letters, combination of it, and getting the meaning and use of unfamiliar words. So another, यदि हाम्रो विद्यार्थीले word को meaning भन्न सक्ने भयो भने, themselves. So through the text, not asking by the teachers, comprehension skill might say, sometimes we need to support, but they should be able to read, acknowledge, and they should be able to, share, guess the meaning itself. Understanding the explicitly stated information. If the, simple तरिकाले भनिएको हुन्छ, त्यो कुरालाई explicitly भन्न सक्ने भए, understand गर्न सक्ने भए, that is another comprehension skill. So understanding the conceptual meaning, what a concept is hidden there in this text. So it may be used in this perspective. So there might be the reason, this meaning is hidden there. There's, at least the reader has to be able to conceptualize it. This is another. And then understanding the relationship within the sentence. So what I'm telling, understanding the relationship within the sentence. What does that mean, sir? Whether these words are appropriate there in the language, in the text or not, do they make meaning, or is there any connectivity to other? त्यो हुन्छ नि, क्ल्यारिटी छ कि छैन, कनेक्टिभिटी छ कि छैन, एकअर्कासँग सम्बन्धित छ कि अमिल्दो छ कि, like this. So extracting the salient points to summarize the text. So अर्को चाहिँ whole text पढेर extensive reading जस्तो. So after, if they are able to summarize along with the main points, main pointहरु, महत्त्वपूर्ण कुराहरु नछुटाइकन summarize गर्न सक्ने भयो भने, that is also like they understood the text भन्ने कुरा we as a teacher can find out. ल, similarly, distinguishing the main ideas from the supporting details. So there are different components of a writing. So there are topic sentence, main ideas, supporting details, or the thesis statement. So like, at least the learners, they are expected to, or when we provide some tasks to them, they are supposed to develop those skills, which are also considered as the sub skills to develop the comprehension skill of students. So comprehension चाहिँ अलिकति राम्रै हेर्नु होला, listening मा पनि र reading मा पनि. So these are sub skills. So identifying the main theme of the text. So what the theme is hidden there. So if the learners are able to identify, this is another sub skill or the comprehension skill. So understanding the text through different perspective going out of the text. Text beyond text भन्दा बाहिर गएर यो कस्तो कन्टेक्स्टमा लेखिएको छ हो भनेर बुझ्नु पर्यो. भन्न खोजेको के हो भने, फर एक्जाम्पल मैले कुनै एउटा टेक्स्ट पढ्दाखेरि I can see it through different lens. Lens can be using different principles, theories, right? For example, historical perspective, but त्यसलाई कसरी मैले एनालाइज गर्ने, social perspective, but psychological perspective, अथवा feminism को lens, but अथवा socio-cultural lens, but अथवा structural point of view, but like it's going through. यो अलि higher level मा हुन्छ, school level मा विद्यार्थीहरुले त्यो विभिन्न critical theory लाई use गरेर त्यो lens बाट हेर्न सक्दैन, but at least you can write. Or from some literary texts, so they can be able, at least ठुलो नआए पनि अलिअलि हेर्न सक्छ हैन. So see, understanding the cohesion between the part of the text through grammatical cohesion device means like while going through the reading text. So after going through the reading text, if our students are able to understand the cohesion, so how these texts are interconnected each other, and then are they making meaning in a very sequential order? Are they creating the clarity and uniformity in the text? Yes. If so, how those grammatical, so different discourses, I mean, grammatical items are connected for meaning making. So at least learners ले त्यो पनि analyze गर्न सक्नु पर्यो. Identifying the facts and statistical data, including if there is a statistical data presented through the text, what kind of factual data and statistical numerical data in the paraorthographic text are included there. So they need to be able to identify. र यहाँ यति बढी टेक्स्ट छ, एक दुईवटा हटाइदिनु होला है, यतिको तपाईहरुलाई 2-3 मार्क्स को क्वेशन आउँछ. So it's okay, fine, you can use this much. But let's go for next steps of teaching reading. अब यहाँबाट pedagogy सुरु भयो है साथीहरु. So let's go. Pedagogy means methodology, how to teach. अहिलेसम्म purpose, what makes reading text difficult, and what are the sub skills. Yeah, we just discussed these, right? Now, यसमा हेर्नुभयो types of reading text. यो अलिकति theoretical part हो. अब practical pedagogical idea तिर. I mean, not with a full answer, but this is, I mean, steps of teaching reading. हामी कुन step follow गर्छौं. अब यो step र stages मा लगभग एउटै छ है, यस्तो धेरै फरक हुँदैन, एउटै हो. तर स्टेप्स हेर्नु भयो भने चाहिँ we can divide the whole यो सबै reading लाई as a whole approach को through बाट हेर्ने हो भने there are 3 pre while post गरेर हैन. तर steps बाट हेर्ने हो भने चाहिँ, so means at the beginning scene setting बाट सुरु भएर evaluation सम्म जान्छ, यसलाई चाहिँ हामी स्टेप भन्छ. So remember, let's start your scene setting or climate setting भन्छ. सबभन्दा पहिला हामी what we do, step पहिलो स्टेप कुनै विद्यार्थीलाई reading text दिनु भन्दा अगाडि what we do means we create the climax or we create the context for scene setting, creating context or scene setting or yeah, climate setting. All those terminologies are same. Yes, scene setting. अब यो scene setting मा, I mean, these are the steps. Scene setting भनेको चाहिँ you need to first understand. यो first step हो. First step reading मा चाहिँ हामीले यो principles and objective are the same. यो त कसरी भयो र आकाश र पृथ्वी एउटै हो भन्ने जस्तै भइहाल्यो है. भएन त्यो है त. सब स्किल्स भनेर भन्नुभयो भने हुन्छ है त. who is reading, यो सब स्किल रमित ढुङ्गाना means सब स्किल अफ रिडिङ. सब स्किल भनेको रिडिङ गर्दाखेरि हामीलाई कस्तो कस्तो अरु स्किलहरु चाहिन्छ ताकि विद्यार्थी चाहिँ कम्प्रिहेन्सन स्किल, आई मिन होल टेक्स्टलाई बुझ्न सक्ने हुन्छ भनेको है. अब बुझ्नु पर्यो साथीहरु है. आई एम जस्ट क्ल्यारिफाइङ फ्रम द बिगिनिङ. So let's go start. So scene setting is the first step. Teaching का स्टेपहरु, स्टेप वाइज प्रोसेस. फर्स्ट स्टेपमा के गर्ने, सेकेन्डमा के गर्ने, थर्डमा के गर्ने भन्दा पहिला विद्यार्थीले पढ्नु भन्दा अगाडि हामीले त्यो यो टेक्स्ट यस्तो कन्टेक्स्टमा लेखिएको हो, यो अथरले लेखेको हो हैन, सो अथवा यहाँबाट बरुड गरेर ल्याएको हो भन्नु पर्यो. मैले चाहिँ विद्यार्थीलाई I mean, scene setting भित्र थुप्रै कुराहरु पर्छन्. It's a, I mean, connecting to the culture, connecting to the background information, or विद्यार्थीलाई अलिकति वार्म अप गर्ने हो. वार्म अप एक्टिभिटीज पनि scene setting भित्र आउँछ. So doing small activity, उनीहरुको प्रायर नलेज अघि भर्खर सुन्नु भएको छ तपाईहरु. प्रायर नलेज कति छ उनीहरुको, योसँग सम्बन्धित थाहा छ कि छैन? हो अब एउटा टेक्स्ट चाहिँ राउटे समुदायको बारेमा लेखेको एउटा टेक्स्ट छ अब कुनै विद्यार्थीले पूर्वको इलामतिर गयो भने त्यो नाम नसुनेको पनि हुन सक्छ तर जहाँ उहाँहरू बसोबास गर्नुहुन्छ सुर्खेत दैलेख होइन अराउन्ड जाजरकोट होला सो त्यो क्षेत्रको वरिपरिको विद्यार्थीलाई अब त्यो सिन सेटिङ ब्याकग्राउन्ड भनिरहनु पर्दैन सो आई थिङ्क यु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड इट सिन सेटिङ डजन्ट मिन द्याट सो आई मिन ओन्ली वान वे देयर आर डिफरेन्ट पर्सपेक्टिभ वी निड टु प्रोभाइड द कल्चरल रिलिजियस हिस्टोरिकल ब्याकग्राउन्ड सम टाइम टु द लर्नर्स उनीहरूलाई बुझाउनु पर्यो नि त पहिला कुरा त यो टेक्स्ट भनेको के हो भने हो टेक्स्ट नै बुझेको हुँदैन अनि यसै विद्यार्थीलाई रिडिङ गर्न लगाएर दे हार्डली कम्प्रिहेन्ड द टेक्स्ट सो रिडिङ भनेको कुनै एउटा सेन्टेन्स बुझ्नुलाई हामी वी डोन्ट कल इट अहिलेसम्म आइपुग्दा कति बुझ्नुभयो थाहा भएन बट कम्प्रिहेन्सन स्किल डेभलप गर्नु र होल मिनिङ जेनेरेट गरेर अनि आफ्नो ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा लेख्न सक्ने रेस्पोन्ड गर्न सक्ने बन्नुलाई मात्र रिडिङ भनिन्छ सो एक्चुअल टिचिङ भयो कि भएन भनेर बुझ्नु पर्यो पहिलो कुरा स्टेप फलो गरेर प्र्याक्टिकल्ली अप्लाई गर्दैमा पनि हुँदैन आई मिन त्यसमा विद्यार्थीको भावना बुझ्नुपर्ने हुन्छ सबभन्दा पहिला एज अ टिचर सो फर्स्ट वी निड टु सो इट्स अ सिन सेटिङ भित्र गर्ने भनेको पहिला सो मेन्टल स्केमाटा सो मेन्टल स्केमाटा इज अ थियरी डेभलप्ड in the let's say here in reading purpose and here generally readerले चाहिँ के गर्नु पर्यो भने I mean टिचरले हो especially teacher has to provide background knowledge background information about this reading text or sometimes we have to help them to cultural values and belief related to the text यो यस्तो कल्चरबाट आएको अथवा यो टेक्स्ट भित्र भएका कुराहरू is related to this particular socio-cultural phenomenon or political socio-political context or some geographical context or historical context or some author's point of view what is there inside I mean text पढेर सबै भन्ने हैन it's related to this and do you know about it something we just help them ask some questions to the topic or sometime उनीहरुलाई warm up गर्नलाई warm up activities गरिन्छ warm up activities means a small activity connected to the teaching learning process is called warm up activity so त्यो warm up activity ले के गर्छ भने त्यो टेक्स्ट सँग भए जस्तै related small anecdotes stories we need to share with them so a teacher can share experiences or how far the learners have learned about this particular reading text भनेर उनीहरुलाई अनुभव शेयर गर भन्न दिन सकिन्छ sometime हामीले सबै कुरा शेयर गरेर can you guess the title for today's reading भन्न सकिन्छ so these are the some of the sub activities or different other activities that we can do under scene setting scene setting is the first step what do we do under scene setting? Readers use pictures, titles, heading, and text to make prediction before they begin to read. I mean, who is the author? What is the what pictures are there? What is the heading about it? Or what sort of the text format is used here? So they can predict it. So predicting involves thinking ahead while reading and anticipating information and event in the text. See, while they are reading, त्यो अगाडि गरेको scene setting मा गरेका सम्पूर्ण क्रियाकलापले चाहिँ विद्यार्थीलाई so I mean it concretizes or consolidates their learning in a better way. अर्को सेकेन्ड स्टेपमा चाहिँ हामी के भन्छौँ भने pre-teach vocabulary. After scene setting मा विद्यार्थीलाई उनीहरुले कति जानेको छ कति जानेको छैन कहाँनेरि सपोर्ट गर्नुपर्छ कुनै वार्म अप एक्टिभिटीज गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ टीचर हैज टु help them to write some meaning of the word with different activities है word लेखिदिनु पर्यो pre-teach vocabulary so while teaching vocabulary so अब यो vocabulary मै पढौँला so translation is the most worst thing है abstract kind of thing भन्दा बाहेक so synonym antonym सकेसम्म प्रयोग गर्ने भनिन्छ सेकेन्डरी लेभलमा अझ जुनियर ग्रेडमा त different activities we use so we provide pre-teach vocabulary so यसमा चाहिँ presenting keyword विद्यार्थीहरूलाई नआउने are difficult, the words, those words which are unfamiliar for them can be collected and then we can provide to the learners. For example, and then different techniques are some synonyms, antonyms. We can bring sometime real object demonstration, explanation, pictorial process. So these different techniques can be used for किनभने विद्यार्थीलाई त्यहाँ पढ्न रिडिङ टेक्स्ट दिनु छ and then त्यो meaning विद्यार्थीलाई थाहा भएन भने they cannot they can I mean they may struggle a lot. I mean yeah, with some acronyms, some words, and then by getting students to guess from the text, guessing meaning from the text पनि दिन सकिन्छ. So or by actual teaching गर्दै अनि यसको meaning यो हो भन्दै पनि लैजान सकिन्छ sometime. So this is the second step. I mean, first is scene setting. Scene setting. यसमा चाहिँ तपाईहरुले फेरि मैले एउटा कुरा चाहिँ राम्रोसँग बुझ्नु होला. यिनीलाई यस्तो डिफरेन्ट एक्टिभिटिजबाट लेख्नु पर्दैन. यसलाई प्याराग्राफमा लेख्दा हुन्छ. First step is the scene setting. Second step is the pre-test. यिनीहरुलाई बुझ्नलाई मात्रै मैले पोइन्टमा लेखेको. You can write in paragraph. So extensive reading. अब यो रिडिङमा चाहिँ हामीले एक्चुअल रिडिङ गराउँदा involve students in two times. First extensive reading गर्छौं, general information कतिको आयो भनेर बुझ्नलाई, अनि त्यसपछि हामी extensive reading दिन्छौं, intensive गराउँछौं, त्यसपछि फाइनली हामी विद्यार्थीको फिडब्याक लिन्छौं अथवा त्यो रिडिङ सँग रिलेटेड क्वेशन आन्सरहरु दिन्छौं, which is called text related activity. I mean reading activity can be given. So extensive reading tasks can be given first time. So we need to always say it is extensive tasks. Skimming, scanning technique can be useful for this, for extensive reading tasks. What we do means students read only for the pleasure. Pause this time. Extensive reading tasks can be. Fill in the gaps, choose the best alternatives, rearrange the sentences, events, or matching items, discuss answers in pair small groups, class feedback they will receive. First means like तर allocated त्यही माथि भएको ट्याक्कै word fill in the blanks गराउनु भयो भने फेरि intensive हुन्छ. यो फेरि कति अवस्थामा विद्यार्थीलाई बुझाउन पनि सकिदैन. त्यही टेक्स्टमा भएको कुरालाई फिल गरेर राख्नु पर्यो भने intensive हुन्छ त्यो. है बुझ्नु होला. तर fill in the blanks त छ, तर विद्यार्थीले आफै बुझेर यहाँ यो हुनुपर्छ तर टेक्स्टमा नभएको आफै बुझेर this things should be included भन्यो भने त्यो extensive हो है. Minorly बुझ्नु होला, टेक्निकल कुराहरु हुन्छन्. So I mean choose the best alternatives, which can be the best, I mean multiple choice types, and then rearrange the sentence matching सबै बुझ्नु नै हुन्छ. So अब intensive मा चाहिँ very specific type का क्वेशनहरु दिनुपर्छ किनभने extensive मात्रै गराएर अपुरो रिडिङ हुन्छ. I mean एकचोटीको टेक्स्टमा हामी we take two times है रिडिङ एक्चुअल गराउँदा we always take two type of test items we need to design. एक पहिलो पटक extensive and intensive बल्ल matured reading हुन्छ, and then intensive मा हामी comprehensive र linguistic tasks दिन्छौं यसमा सबभन्दा बढी. Read, have to complete understanding, read and design a bit complex type of question दिन्छ यसमा. True false item, answer the comprehensible type of question, giving opinion, giving summary, we always ask for them. And for pair work and small group discussion can be later on, class feedback can be provided for them. Detail पढेर मात्रै दिन सक्यो intensive मा, line by line. So and the last step is text related activity. अब यो text related activity भनेको चाहिँ के हो भने काम सक्यो, रिडिङ गरिसक्यो, अब टेक्स्ट सँग सम्बन्धित अझ त्यो टेक्स्ट सँग सम्बन्धित विभिन्न प्रकारका कामहरु दिन सकिन्छ. रोल प्ले, डिस्कसन, प्यारल राइटिङ or debate, discussion, हैन यस्ता खालका कामहरु टेक्स्ट रिलेटेड दियो भने चाहिँ बल्ल they will be able to, I mean reading चाहिँ बल्ल, so they will be developing. So gives home or some classroom assignments, being best on the textbooks exercises. So we can provide to the learners. That's it. अब चाहिँ तपाईहरुले अर्को कुरा लेभल फेजेस अर स्टेजेस भनेर हेर्नु होला। अब यो स्टेप्समा चाहिँ प्याराग्राफमा लेख्नु भयो हुन्छ विभिन्न एक्टिभिटिजमा डिफाइन गर्नु पर्दैन। बट हियर इन दिस डिफरेन्ट लेभल एन्ड स्टेजेस। अब यसमा पनि तपाईहरुलाई मैले अस्ति रिडिङमा भने जस्तै हो, what are the different stages of teaching reading भनेर डाइरेक्ट सिधै प्रश्न आउँदैन है। Why do you think post reading activity is highly important? What different activities do you use under post reading अथवा pre reading? अथवा why do you think pre-teach vocabulary is important for the students? यस्ता खालका अलिकति क्रिएटिभ क्रिटिकल टाइपका क्वेशनहरु प्राय अलिकति आउँछ पेडागोजीमा। So why do you think pre-teach vocabulary is necessary for the students? So yeah, you need to simply, you can write in your own language without providing the sufficient pre-teach vocabulary. Students हैन स्ट्रगल गर्छन्, मिनिङ भेट्दैनन्। अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ पोस्ट व्हाइलको खासै कम आउँछ। त्यसैले पढ्दाखेरि चाहिँ कुन चाहिँ इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो, कुन चाहिँ लेस इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो, यु निड टु बी एबल टु आइडेन्टिफाई है त। लेट्स गो। अब यसमा प्री व्हाइल पोस्ट भन्छौँ हामी। सी लेट्स गो प्री व्हाइल पोस्ट। अब यो प्री रिडिङ चाहिँ अघिको अगाडिको स्टेप्सहरु छ नि, यस त्यहाँ चाहिँ सिन सेटिङ र प्री-टिच भोक्याबुलरी चाहिँ केमा पर्छ? प्री रिडिङ भित्र पर्छ। अघिको स्टेप भित्रको दुईटा एक्टिभिटी चाहिँ प्री रिडिङ भित्र, किनभने इट्स एक्चुअल रिडिङ भन्दा अगाडि गर्ने सबै एक्टिभिटिजहरु प्री रिडिङ हो। इट्स अ काइन्ड अफ प्रिपेरेटरी स्टेज और so students are getting well prepared for actual reading. And so if we have a very scientific pre-reading activities involving in the students before reading, obviously they will comprehend the text and will have a best outcome an output of students in reading. So साथीहरु के प्रश्न सोध्दै गर्नु होला। if you have, I'll come back within 2 minutes है हुन्छ। I'll be back within 2 minutes. Well, so Rama Bishta Khatri, sir, are you a lecturer? I mean, where are you working profession? यो चाहिँ तपाईहरुको ठूलै समस्या हो भन्ने लाग्छ। I'm extremely sorry. तपाईहरु पैसा तिरेर इन्भेस्ट गरेर क्लास लिन आउनुहुन्छ हैन? अनि क्लासमा आएर अनि सोध्नुहुन्छ के? अनि पहिला नबुझिकन कस्तो व्यक्तिले क्लास पढाउँछ भनेर नबुझिकन क्लासमा आउनुहुन्छ। मलाई यो नै अचम्म लाग्छ। For one click, could you please repeat the steps of teaching reading? नबुझिकन क्लास पढ्न आउने हो इन्स्टिट्युटमा यसै बिलिभ गरेर सबैले पढाउँछ हैन? So let's go है अब यहाँ सकिहाल्नु होला है त pre-reading stage I mean pre-reading stage at this stage of teaching reading teacher tries to identify how much students have learned or the major activities under this stage are so I mean तपाईहरुलाई यो चाहिँ सबभन्दा ठूलो कुरा हो त्यो प्री while post I mean everyone writes तर पर्टिकुलर स्टेप भित्र चाहिँ कस्ता कस्ता एक्टिभिटीजहरु गर्नुहुन्छ भन्ने खालको क्वेशन हुन्छ I mean the question will be asked to you I mean what different activities do you carry out under a particular stage so this is very important so pre-reading stage means before reading yes what different activities we do it's a अब अलिकति स्टेप्स बाट पनि थाहा पाइसक्नु भएको छ हैन so scene setting activities we अब यहाँ सजिलो हुन्छ तपाईहरुलाई बुझाउनलाई भनेर it's written in this way otherwise I can write in a bullet points so यो scene setting लाई हटाएर so I mean what we can do before reading गराउनु भन्दा अगाडि विद्यार्थीहरुलाई what we can help means we can help them telling stories or describing some pictures or we can tell some jokes we can help them to watch some videos or we provide some background information so scene setting यो scene setting भनेको चाहिँ warm up हो किनभने विद्यार्थीहरुले many students are having wrong perception about warm up activity warm up भनेको त सानो एउटा एक्टिभिटी हो विद्यार्थीको अटेन्सन टिचर्सतिर ड्रा गर्नलाई गरिने एक्टिभिटीलाई वार्म अप भनिन्छ भनेर पनि यहाँ चाहिँ कतिको बुझाइरहेछ that's not warm up activity means the activity or scene setting activity warm up activity means same which we conduct in the classroom so small activity which we do which is highly specific and relevant to the teaching को topic सँग हुनु पर्यो अब यहाँ हामीले गरेको टेलिङ स्टोरीज किन स्टोरी भन्ने त्यो स्टोरी सानो स्टोरी हामीले क्लासमा भनेको 5 minutes story 3 minutes story is relevant to the student ले पढ्नु पर्ने टेक्स्ट सँग सम्बन्धित हुन्छ so if our warm up activity is not relevant to the today's teaching this is just waste of time only so scene setting is also helping them climate setting scene setting warm up activities whatever we do should be very much specific and relevant to the today's topic so we tell sometimes jokes but these jokes also should be relevant to the students who reading text so watching video किन त्यसो गरेको भन्दा उनीहरुलाई त्यो रिडिङ को लागि इन्फर्मेसन पर्याप्त मात्रामा पुगोस् भन्नलाई हो or teacher has to tell some give some background information about this reading text reading मा त्यहाँ टेक्स्टमा के छ त्यो भन्ने होइन this this text is about this or something, and यहाँबाट लिएको author is like this, or yeah, we can find यसले विद्यार्थीलाई बुझ्नलाई सहज हुन्छ like right after involving in. So अर्को चाहिँ clue gathering activities. What we ask, I mean activities, next activities that we do is predicting the topic. Predicting the topic, yes. Let them to guess the topic. KWL. KWL भनेको one एउटा activity हो. We can use always in reading KWL. We always develop one chart, tracing lines in 3 columns. K means what our students knew already. उनीहरुले कति बुझेका छन्. W means what do they want to learn, W, and L means पढाइसकेपछि भर्ने. 3टा कोठा हुन्छ. I mean, like how many of you are using, because in Nepal many teachers are very poor in pedagogy, so content knowledge ma thiकै हुँदा हुँदै पनि. So I think very few of you know this KWL. कसले बुझ्नु भएको छ भन्नुलाई साथीहरुले. So I can see here 114 out of 114 20 जनाले जान्नु भयो भने ठुलो कुरा हुन्छ KWL. Or many of you maybe first time you're listening, तर यो एउटा old हो यो है, धेरै पुरानो, पहिले नयाँ नयाँ आइसकेको छन् अहिले. KWL is very old one, but very interesting to find out the students prior knowledge. उनीहरु कति छ भनेर बुझ्नलाई prior knowledge related to K, उनीहरुको expectation थाहा पाउनलाई W, र L भनेको चाहिँ उनीहरुको expectation meet भयो कि भएन, L. So this is what we call KWL chart or KWL. Okay, at least बुझ्नु भएको रहेछ है. KWL mean भनिरहेको छु, त्यहाँ सोधिरहनु भएको छ एकजनाले. अब फेरि सुन्नु होला भन्न मिलेन है. I shared so many times. So let's go brainstorming. So brainstorming, sometimes some intriguing questions or some, yes, small activities can be conducted. Some small activities can be conducted. So fostering their, I mean, connecting ideas towards the reading. Brainstorming ma unharule sochera answer dinu पर्ने हुन्छ, asking questions, so making inferences. Sometimes these activities can be used, right? And अर्को भनेको चाहिँ presenting vocabulary. अघि भने मैले pre reading भित्र चाहिँ scene setting step को 2टा कुरा पर्छ. एउटा चाहिँ yes, scene setting भित्र pre-teach vocabulary देखि अगाडिको जति पनि हामीले activities गर्छौं, providing background information or each and every. So this is related to, I'm familiar with it, and also follow I do, we do, and you do strategy. I do, you do, and we do चाहिँ अलि अर्कै हो, यहाँ reading मा हुँदैन. Anyway, glad to know that you know Hari Prasad. Want to know and learned. अनि खै त के आएन नि त है. के भनेको what they knew भनिन्छ, what they knew है. उनीहरुले के जानेका छन्, what they already knew. अनि W भनेको चाहिँ what they want to know, उनीहरु के जान्न चाहन्छन्. र L भनेको चाहिँ what they learned, पढाइसकेर मात्र भरिन्छ त्यो चाहिँ है. Well, let's go. So presenting vocabularies, provide list of unfamiliar vocabularies and their meaning. So यति चाहिँ हामी केमा गर्छौं, प्री रिडिङ मा गर्छौं. So आज मेरो कम्प्युटर अलिकति रेस्पोन्ड भइरहेको छ यो. So I don't know, I have to press, I think it's mouse को problem. So let's go for actual reading. So while reading, pre, while, post लाई before, actual, after पनि भनिन्छ, or during पनि भनिन्छ while लाई. So while reading stage, in this stage students are involving in actual reading text. the first time, the students will get involved in the following activities. First time reading गर्दा extensive reading हुन्छ उनीहरुको. So I mean, the students are involving for improving the reading speed, fluency, reading skills, partner reading, hearing mistakes from students, so filling the blanks, choose the best option, matching, giving definitions. We can ask for the students. And intensive reading ma task based reading, comprehension techniques, six thinking hats, true false, and rearranging sentences. यहाँ six thinking hat भनेको चाहिँ डी बोनो भन्ने author, let's not say author, डी बोno's six thinking hat is related to critical thinking skills. He was the professor, was born in Malta, and yeah, you know, एकचोटि Google गरेर हेर्नुहोस् six thinking hat, आफै बुझ्नुहुन्छ. We can apply this. So intensive reading skill. Okay? I mean, after reading, what we do, different activities. So post-reading stage. In this stage, the students are expected to utilize their creative and critical thinking skills to summarize or interpret the text. The following activities can be given for the students. What do we do? Reflection, summarizing, interpreting, relating, paraphrasing, presenting, reviewing, reporting, debating, recalling, rewriting. Text सम्बन्धित but अघि extensive and intensive गरेको जस्तो हैन, छुट्टै different. I mean, like it's a consolidation stage, means yeah, after debate हुन सक्छ हैन, different activities can be. In consolidation phase मा चाहिँ टिचरले feedback दिने. Reflection ma चाहिँ, so we just involve them in different activities relating to the text. But in consolidation, peer feedback, teachers feedback, follow up, home assignment, project assignments we provide to them. That's it. एउटा design गर्नुस् भन्न सक्छ. This is not related to by designing. Let's stop here. Different possible question. I don't know why this is not there. Let's stop here. Some possible question relevant to that reaction. So this file has come from different place. The possible question was different. Am I sharing screen? Hello. So after your reading ma चाहिँ तपाईहरुलाई आउन सक्ने important question. Hello everyone. Can you? Krishna Thapa, what's wrong with you? Why are you laughing? Hello, भन्नुस् त साथीहरु. Hello, किन हाँसिरहनु भएको छ? ल. Yes sir भन्नु भएको छ. Dipendra, screen share is visible. Thank you. भन्नु पर्यो के साथीहरु है. अब यो प्रश्न यसरी यो important questionहरु छन्. यी प्रश्नहरुमा प्र्याक्टिस गर्नु होला. The question won't be asked out of these. तर प्र्याक्टिस नै गर्नु. तपाईहरु प्रश्न देखेपछि प्र्याक्टिस गर्नुहुन्न. अनि जस्टिफिकेसन चाहिँ सर निमाविको एक्जाम आउन लाग्यो छ, so we did not practice भन्नुहुन्छ है. Some of you please, it's not like this. Yeah. So please once so look at here, what is extensive reading? So in this way, small question can be asked from this. What is extensive reading? Highlight the different steps of teaching reading skills. And what makes reading text difficult for the students? How do you simplify the reading text? See, what is extensive reading? You can write, so extensive reading about, okay, extensive reading. Well, hello. And then, yeah, for the first question, highlight the different steps of teaching reading. So different steps means, extensive reading. So you start writing what is extensive reading at the beginning. Extensive reading is the process, I mean, a type of reading. Yes, and highlight the difference. I mean, yeah, I do not I mean, कसरीले यहाँ मार्क्स रहेछ तपाईहरुलाई यसमा एउटा प्रब्लम चाहिँ I cannot type it. So highlight the different, यो मार्क्स लेख्नुहोस् त साथीहरु तपाईहरु है, you can practice at home. What is extensive reading? This is a 3 marks question. Highlight the different steps of teaching reading skill. Means here it includes 7 marks. Means for the second part of the question you can include yes, in the first step, you, I mean, highlighting the different step, scene setting, and then next, pre-teach vocabulary, and extensive reading, and text-related activity. Altogether, there are 5 different steps. So you can include all those. And what makes reading text difficult for the students? You have already gone. I mean, I shared what are the different factors that create the reading text difficult for the students and for teaching learning process. I mean, different difficult vocabulary, different context, or if the cultural varies in the text, or complex concept in the text are different, you can write. So how do you simplify the reading text? How do you simplify? So how do you simplify भन्दा चाहिँ धेरैजनाले गल्ती के गर्नुहुन्छ भने त्यही अघि दिनुभएको प्रब्लमलाई यसलाई यस्तो गर्ने त्यसो लेखेर आउँदैन साथीहरु है. How do you simplify भन्दा first write the role of the teacher, how teacher has to help for them. टिचरले विभिन्न प्रकारका रिडिङ टेक्स्टहरु ल्याउनु पर्यो. Time and again different reading texts are to be provided, different genreका रिडिङ टेक्स्टहरु अघि I just shared. So different reading text. अनि teach the whole reading text लाई विभिन्न फेजमा डिवाइड गरेर विभिन्न एक्टिभिटिजहरु अप्लाई गर्नु पर्यो, and different teaching techniques should be adopted भनेर पनि लेख्नु होला है, teaching reading techniques. So mention some pedagogical practical ideas for improving students' reading skill. अब त्यो pedagogical ideas भनेको क्वेशन लाई के भनेको भने प्री while पोस्ट राख्ने अनि विभिन्न एक्टिभिटिज राख्दा भइहाल्छ. त्यो प्रश्नले सिधै भनेको हुँदैन प्री while पोस्ट राख्नुस् भनेर, but you need to understand. So for next, as a secondary एउटै हो, secondary level of English teacher, how do you develop the independent readers? कहिलेको क्वेशन यसरी आइदिन्छ, independent readers कसरी बनाउनु हुन्छ? Design an activity for teaching reading. एउटा एक्टिभिटी डिजाइन गर्नुस् अथवा design a sample of activity for teaching reading. Finished. Oh, यो sample activity भोलिको क्लासमा म शेयर गर्नु होला. So what are the different types of reading? त्यो चाहिँ लिस्ट मात्रै गर्ने हो, फेरि एक्सप्लेन गर्नु पर्दैन. So mention the stages of reading skill. So different stages means here. Mention stages भनेर फेरि स्टेप, यो प्रश्न चाहिँ अलि इन्कम्प्लिट छ है. I mean, यही ठाउँमा I mean लास्ट पार्टको क्वेशन्स चाहिँ I'll remove completely. यो चाहिँ नगर्नु होला है साथीहरु, लास्टको क्वेशन चाहिँ ल. So I'll modify this question. यसको सट्टामा अर्को क्वेशन लेख्नुस् त प्लिज एभ्रीवन. What are the different types of reading? Please write, everyone. Hey, what are the different? I cannot write here. What are the different types of reading? Why post-reading activity is necessary? Hey, why post-reading activities is necessary? Mention different activities carried out in अथवा यसो गर्नुस् pre-teach गर्नुस् पहिला why pre-teach vocabulary is necessary in reading and then finally include different activities included in pre-reading stage भनेर लेख्नुस् है It's very important question. The question answer मा छलफल गरौँला यसो गर्नुस् 1 to 3 को गरेर आउनुस् लास्ट को लेख्न अप्ठ्यारो भयो भने it's a scanned document so I cannot type also. So first, second, third equally important. So lower भएको छ त्यहाँ second गर्नुस् एउटै हो. Design and activity मैले तपाईहरुलाई listening मा हेल्प गरेको छु त्यसकै आइडिया लिएर you can prepare है reading को format चाहिँ एउटै हुन्छ है त. So with this I just stop here. केही छ यहाँहरुको hello anyone if you have कसैको केही comments छ भने I'll read out है त comment I'll just say check the comments. Okay, if you have any केही छ भने चाहिँ प्रश्नहरु हेरौँ है त. Do you have any question? या कसैले के सोधिरहनु भएको छ? Okay. Last question परेन अहिले छोड्दिनुस् म त्यो last question को I'll help you in writing practice गरौँला. एकजनाले सोध्नु भएको रहेछ receptive and productive vocabulary के हो भन्नु भएको रहेछ. So who is this name? What's name? कता हरायो फेरि? Hello, can you write your name? Marking criteria. So what is marking criteria? Yes, ma marking अहिले practice गर्नुस् है. Can you कसले लेख्नु भएको थियो यहाँ? Hello. So receptive and productive. यहाँ I just saw फेरि missed भयो यहाँ हरायो. Can you write sir I भनेर? Hey, Krishna Thapa, please listen. Receptive and productive vocabulary भनेको चाहिँ. So generally the vocabulary which are learned by the learners directly to comprehend the text. So while going through the text, if the learners have to comprehend, especially guessing meaning through the context or analyzing the meaning or so interpreting the text in one ways, if those kind of vocabularies are self-directed and learning, यस्तो प्रकारको vocabulary चाहिँ receptive vocabulary भनिन्छ भने productive भनेको चाहिँ like directly they can use themselves and it teaches the meaning and तिनीहरुलाई आफै use गर्न सकिन्छ भने चाहिँ productive भनिन्छ. Receptive भने चाहिँ guess गर्दै त्यसलाई comprehend गर्दै जाने while reading text. If the words are encountered, they guess the meaning, comprehend the text through using this receptive vocabulary. Productive भनेको चाहिँ they use appropriate words, so they know intentionally they use and they means that they will receptive र productive सँगै सम्बन्धित छ. But I think you understood. बुझ्नु भयो? Sarojले 10 marks question को answer how many pages should we write? अनि तपाई आज मात्रै आउनु भयो र अरु दिनको यत्रो 1 युनिट सक्दासम्म कति क्वेशनहरु प्र्याक्टिस गर्यो है? त्यो कति लेख्यो भन्नुस् त? अब यस्तो लेन्थबाट मार्क्स आउने हुँदैन कन्टेन्टबाट. कृष्णजी बुझ्नु भयो? सो लेन्थबाट मार्क्स आउँदैन. तपाईले कस्तो कन्टेन्ट राख्नु भयो? तपाईले स्ट्रङ कन्टेन्ट राख्नु भएको छ भने 1.5 पेज इज इनफ. छैन लङ लेख्नु हुन्छ भने 2 पेज लेख्दा पनि मार्क्स नआउला है. तर अब तपाईले म्याक्सिमम समय 2 पेज भन्दा बढी जति फास्ट लेखे पनि 10 क्वेशनको भ्याउनुहुन्न. सो विथ दिस लङ लेखेर मार्क्स आउने होइन यो TSC मा है.
त्यो कुनै जमाना थियो ट्रेडिसनल टाइपको मानिसहरुमा त्यो खालको थियो कुनै जमाना अहिले सबै चेन्ज भएको छ कन्टेन्ट हेरिन्छ तपाईहरु कस्तो लेख्नुभयो भनेर लेन्थ वी डोन्ट काउन्ट लेन्थ ल अरु केही छ यहाँहरुको अदरवाइज आज मात्रै होला सायद प्रश्न है asks that there may be skill under the 4 language skill in grade 9 and 10 then what type of questions are asked from them so there are many skills under 4 language skills मैले तपाईको प्रश्न नै बुझेको छैन तपाईले टीएससी मा भन्नुभएको कि स्कुलको क्लासमा भन्नुभएको I did not understand हरिजी please make it I mean clear write clearly try to clarify and then only I can give answer there is not that much clear हेलो ल छोटो साथीहरु है आजलाई